So how do you find, obviously it's a little bit different to what you do, but how are landlords affected by everything that's going on?
I fear for landlords at the moment because I think there's as the property prices start to gather momentum, and because interest rates are low, and because rents have increased a lot in the last 5 years, it looks like the perfect time to invest in property. And we're going to find lots more buy-to-let buyers coming into the marketplace because they're not going to want to miss out on the boom. And there has been a boom in the last 5 years. But here's the thing. If you can imagine, there's one piece of information people forget. In this country, people have no rights to tenure on a rented property, apart from their tenure for a year, whatever the case may be. So they're restricted to that amount. So if you wanted to stay there for any length of time, you haven't got that. Now, human beings like certainty. We all like certainty. We all like to feel certain about certain things in our life. So if you've got, say, a couple who are having to rent because they couldn't get a mortgage in the last 5 years, because it's been very difficult, they've had no choice but to rent, and they want to start a family, and they're living in rented accommodation, what choice have they got if they want security other than to buy a house? They've got no other choice. So what will happen is, as when the Help to Buy scheme comes in as from January, where all mortgages will be underwritten up to 600,000 for 95%, they won't be thinking, I'm going to stay there, I'm going to be moving on to buy a house. So you're going to get what I call mass exodus away from rental to buying, because they can get mortgages now. So what's happening in the rental sector is that more stock is being added to the rental sector. There was a report done by LSL, estate agents. They're the biggest estate agents and letting agents in the country, and they said they've softened, rental market has softened slightly. They're not seeing the increases in rent they were seeing last year. And the reason for that is buyers are saying, well, actually, I'm not going to buy now. I rent now, I'm going to buy now instead. So I'm going to shift over. Now, if you add more stock to the rental market and you take away tenants, what happens to rents?
They're going to just go...
They're going to go down, aren't they? Now, we don't know how far they're going to go down, but it could be 10%, it could be 20%, it could be 40%. We don't know yet. I think it's going to be somewhere between 10 and 20%. The problem with that is that the landlords are going to get more voids. The quality of tenants are moving away. So the quality, the poorer quality moves up, takes their place.
But then they can't afford to pay.
They may not pay the rent. They may shift the price slightly. So all of a sudden, buy-to-let becomes a little bit more vulnerable than it is at the moment. And this is what people aren't seeing. Coupled, if rents drop, coupled with when interest rates go up, because we know they're going to go up, don't we? So if rates go up and rents come down, what happens to the landlord's cash flow?
Doesn't look very good, does it?
No. And no one's seeing this. Everyone thinks I'm bonkers and I'm giving...
Why is that? Why are you only seeing this? Why isn't everyone else? Because, you know, speaking to you makes complete sense. You know, it's like so clear. So why are you being so vocal? And as you said, people, I personally wouldn't call you bonkers, but other people are. So why do you think that is?
I think the reason is, as a race, a human race, we are very optimistic. Sometimes we're too optimistic. We're too blind to it. To me, this makes perfect sense. It's going to happen. It's only when. So it's a matter of when. You know, you talk about getting crystal balls out. 2 or 3 years' time, this is going to be a problem. Buy-to-let will be the thing that causes the next property crash. Where, if you think about this logically, if you had a buy-to-let mortgage and you had your own mortgage and things went really bad for you, which mortgage would you let go first?
My buy-to-let.
Yeah. So there will be more repossessions in the buy-to-let market. That will cause property prices to slow down, maybe even crash to a substantial level, depending on how much property comes to the market at the same time. So we know this is going to happen. It's only a matter of time. But I think buy-to-let buyers are convinced this is the holy grail. This is my pension. I haven't got to worry about it. Once I buy one, I'll put it to bed and I might buy 10 or 20 or whatever. And they are generally convincing themselves this is the holy grail. They're being told by the industry people who are teaching this stuff, even property prices go up every 7 to 10 years, so you haven't got to worry about that. And as long as it cash flows, always stress test your portfolio at a percentage. They don't teach them to stress test with less rent.
Okay.
Because no one sees the rents coming down. It's an old adage in any business, it's supply and demand. If you've got an oversupply and very little demand, or the demand is less, you know full well people have got a choice. Well, I'll give you X, I'll give you X, I'll give you Y, and they'll chip the price. So, to me, it's inevitable. And I think people are trying to convince themselves it's not going to happen.
I think maybe they're scared as well. There's that fear as well.
Well, I go to lots of network meetings and I'm talking about this subject now, and people go up to me and go, "Oh, well, you're doom and gloom merchant, aren't you?" I said, no, there's opportunities here.
Yeah.
This is the thing. This is what I see. I see this lovely marketplace. What's the word I'm looking for? Playing out in front of us, but it's knowing where to strike at what level. You've got this rising property market. You can buy and make money now. When this all goes wrong, then you've got other buying opportunities. And if you're smart and you keep your debt down, you can play into this.
Okay, that's great. So if I wanted to become a property trader, property investor, what 3 tips would you give to me?
Get good at finding deals. Okay. That's my first tip. Second, I think the biggest issue I find most investors have is belief that they can find deals in the first place. Doesn't matter what strategy you're using. There's all different strategies that people use at the moment. It doesn't matter what strategy. It all hinges down to your ability to be able to spot the opportunity in the first place. So that's got to be the number one thing. Then you need to be able to, once you get good at that side, that skill, then you can then decide what to do as a strategy, what suits you, because trading is not going to suit everyone. Okay. If someone's very risk adverse, it's not the market for them. Right. To me, it's I love the hustle and bustle of it, but other people might not find it that attractive. So they may want a steady eddy passive income, as long as they build in their the downside. As long as they build that into their into their figures, they'll be fine. Okay. So it's getting good at finding deals, regardless whether you're going to keep them or sell.
And you mentioned before about pensions. I mean, there's been so much talk about pensions at the moment. Even my husband's thinking of pulling out of his government pension. I mean, do you think pensions are going to be gone now and people should just be investing in property? I
think it's a big issue, pensions, and I think the future governments are going to start looking at pensions because we as a race are living longer, and with modern technology, I think that they're going to live even longer in the future. I think the average age today is 85. It wasn't that long ago. It was 72. Before that, it was probably 68. So we're living longer. So pensions are going to be really vital. So I think that what will happen is that will change in time. But until then, people will be looking at buy to let as their pension pot. They'll be looking at property because property's becoming sexy again. You'll see a lot more property programs in the TV in the coming certainly the coming 6 months, a year.
Yeah, sure.
As the confidence grows, and I think property will be the number one thing that people turn to for a pension. Because I don't know many people who've got a decent pension now. Unless they're a government worker or like your husband, working for the civil service. But very few people have got a decent pension.
But even they're just not as good now.
No, I think that you can't rely on them long term.
No.
But I think it will change. But it's a massive problem that's got to be addressed. But it's not going to be addressed for probably the next 5 or 10 years.
Okay, thanks. And so, if somebody wanted to, you said before that you offer training. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how you can help others who are either thinking of wanting to get into it or already doing it but want to take it up to the next level?
Well, we've got different programs that we do, and the main flagship program is called our effing day.
Okay.
I do swear now and again. It's called Find It, Fund It, Flip It. So we teach you how to find it. We teach you the best ways to fund it, and the best way to flip it, because as I said, mentioned earlier, sometimes it's not always about auction. Sometimes you can flip it onto somebody else. You might sell it on via the open market, depending on how bad the house is. If it's a good house, you don't want to put it in auction. You're not going to get top dollar for it in auction. And the market's changing, we know that, so we know we can play into the marketplace. So we teach you when to sell, what types of property to sell, how to flip it. So people can do that, and they can get that information from my website, paulribbons.com. And then we do a 7-week program, which is a more intense program. This is for the only serious people. You know, this is not for someone who's going to do this light-heartedly. This is someone who's really committed. And I hold their hand for 7 weeks. And the whole idea is we try and find them the deal. I actually sit there and do live calls in front of them, show them how I work. And then we send them out on their way to do certain things. This is why it's a 7-week program. So we get something to do each week for 7 weeks. We have 3 training days and then webinars after that. And then we really... Repetition is the mother of all skill. So we get them to do the same things a certain amount of times. So they get ingrained into them that this is what you've got to do. You've got to do this, you've got to do this, you've got to do this. Because most people run out of steam. That's the biggest issue. And that's not just property, that's businesses generally.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
A lot of businesses fail in the first 18 months, either because people run out of steam or they've run their business not correctly. So we teach them the basic fundamentals. When I speak to agents, it's not what I say, it's how I say it. And I teach people this. It's all about psychology. It's got nothing to do with houses. So we do that over a period of 7 weeks, and then the ones that do require money, then we do, I think I mentioned earlier, we'll do a process where we'll buy ourselves and then we'll cut them in on the deal on the other end. So they haven't got to worry about the money. I get a lot of people coming through the programme where they've got money, but they want me to do the deal with them to hold their hand through it.
I'm a bit nervous,
They're
more
very
that
nervous.
Confidence.
That's it. Yeah. So this happens as well. So.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, Paul.
Very cool.
It's been great. I've learnt so much about the property world and what's going on and all the trends, and I really hope your crystal ball comes true. So thank you. For those of you who'd like to download Paul's Property Market Mechanics, simply visit his website www.paulribbons.com. And Paul, do you want to tell us what they can receive if they do download a copy?
I can. What it goes into is my view on the market. What we've been talking about today in greater depth. Also the signs to look out for, and what's really behind it and driving it, things to be looking out for in the future, like inflation, when interest rates are going to rise and stuff like this. So it's quite comprehensive, and it goes into a lot more detail than we've been talking about today.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay, terrific.
Well, I highly recommend you grab a copy at www.paulribbons.com. You'll also find a host of valuable resources on there, together with Paul runs regular webinars, so you can sign up to them as well. And find out about his future events, hear where he's speaking, and his future programs. So thank you very much for joining today.